Up next on Sci-Fi Fantasy, cleaning and reassembling your airbrush. Hey everybody, it's Kenny Conklin from SciFiFantasy.com and welcome to the second YouTube video today. So this YouTube video is going to deal with cleaning out your airbrush and reassembling it, putting it all back together. This way you're ready to go to paint. So you heard the whole spiel on the first video. We're not even going to bother doing that. Let's get over to the video and check out what I was doing. So I'm going to start off with the needle. We're just going to grab it out of the lacquer thinner. The yellow's thinned. I'm going to pull it across our paper towel and you can see it pulls it right off. We got a nice clean needle. This way we can get back to spraying and make sure we got nothing clogging anything up, and we'll just drop it to the side and let it air dry the rest of the way. The next up is the body. We're just going to dry that off as best we can. Make sure the threads are really dry. Don't really have to worry about the inside so much. This is just, you know, to hold on to rest in your hand. This way you got an extra piece there. And just set that to the side and that'll dry up anything that we don't get. Next up is the tube shank. Now the tube shank has a hollow hole or a hole through it. This way we could put more parts, so we'll just dry that up. We'll get the threads all done up, make sure those are nice and dry, shake it out a bit, see if there's anything in there, and then we're going to work our way over to the pipe cleaners. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a pipe cleaner through, and I'll try to get any moisture or anything out of there, and these are the ones that the kids use. I know a lot of people say don't use these pipe cleaners because you get fuzzies and stuff, but they are cheaper than real pipe cleaners, and you do get fuzzies, so you just got to watch out and you look through, blow everything out, make sure you have no fuzzies, and just wipe it through and you should be good to go. Next up is the spring screw and the needle locking nut. Those you really don't got to do too much, just pull them out and dry them off, put them to the side. They really don't get dirty or anything like that. If I'm cleaning it, I'm cleaning everything except for the air valve. So they'll all get a bath and make sure there's nothing on them, keep them free. So we'll do the trigger, again another piece that really won't need that much cleaning, and we're going to do the needle tube, which also is hollow in the middle, and we're going to have to get that guy cleaned up. So the trigger is just another dry off, and we'll put that to the side, let it do its thing, drying off. But we're going to have to take more care with the needle tube. We'll dry up the outside, and then once we get that dry, we're going to go over to the pipe cleaner after giving it a shake, and we're going to run the pipe cleaner in it, because remember, pulling your needle back, you're drawing paint into the needle holder here, and you're going to get residue in there, and that could gunk up stuff. As you see, there's black in there, which I didn't get cleaned very well last time, so definitely have to clean this better. And what I'll do is I'll just clip that off. I'll run the pipe cleaner back through there and get everything out. Now we're getting the ultrasonic cleaner, so hopefully that'll really loosen everything up in there that's stuck and get everything out, because hand cleaning and soaking gets most of it, but like you see, some stuff still stays behind, and you got to clip and use the pipe cleaner, clip and use the pipe cleaner till you get everything. So we'll see how that ultrasonic works when we get it. Next is the back lever, another piece that you just got to dry off and put to the side, and another piece that really doesn't have to be cleaned unless you spilt something all over it. And now we have the air valve for the front. We'll get this dried up, we'll get any overspray off the front of the cone, anything like that. We'll make sure the threads are dry on the inside, because this is threaded. And we'll take our pipe cleaner and run it through to get any moisture out of there. Make sure everything's nice and dry and clean. This way we have airflow and paint flow coming through with no problems. Next up is the head cap. It's the same as the air valve. We want to make sure we get all these threads nice and cleaned. Make sure we get the hole all dried up. We want to make sure that everything is clear through here. This way our air flows properly and we have no problems when we go to spray and we put this thing back together. Always want to make sure it's all clean and proper. This way we have no trouble painting at all. And again, we just take the pipe cleaner, dry up the centerpiece there, and go around the threads a little bit just to make sure everything's dried up and any gunk is off of there. And next is the spring. Be really careful with your spring. Don't mush it or anything. Just give it a light roll. Take it out from the paper towel, roll it a little bit more. You don't want to warp it or bend it or anything like that. Otherwise you will end up buying a new spring and having to wait to use your airbrush again. Now up next is the body. The outside of the body should be fine. If you have any overspray or you spilt anything like that, the lacquer will take it right off. As you see, and I put the air valve to the side because we don't want to put that in the lacquer thinner. We will ruin it, and that's not a good thing. So I'm just going to dry it off, get inside the cup and get any overspray or dead paint that's in there, get that all out. And then looking down the tube, you can see there's still yellow, but that's all dissolved from the lacquer thinner. And we're going to use the pipe cleaner to go down the throat of the airbrush from the front. And we're going to start just mushing it, mushing it, mushing it. And you'll see the yellow come off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clip that off. I put lacquer thinner on the pipe cleaner, and I'm going to shove it in there to get anything that's remaining. Now the problem with this method is that you're actually pushing paint again towards the back. So it's going to take a while to go back and forth. Most of it's gone there, as you can see, and you just clip and do it again and again and again till you get all of that yellow out, or whatever color you're using. But it's pushing it back down the tube where the needle would be pulling back when you're pulling on the trigger. So we want to take care of that also. So we're going to take the pipe cleaner, we're going to cut it, and we're going to come in from the reverse side, the back end of the airbrush, and we're going to do the same thing with lacquer thinner in there. We're going to push, 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 and you see the yellow coming down the vein there where the needle and the paint would run. So we're trying to push everything we can out of there just to make sure everything is clean. Now you may end up doing this a whole bunch of times until you get it really clean, because a lot of paint does get caught in the throat there, and you want to make sure that's perfect. So we're just going to take a clean one, and we're going to try to soak up that paint and get it out. We're going to see how the ultrasonic works. Hopefully it breaks up all that paint and we don't have this much work to do on it. And again, just going with a dry one, drying it up, trying to get any excess out of there. Front, back, every which way until you get a white pipe cleaner. Make sure it's nice and clean, and you'll enjoy painting again once you put the airbrush back together. Then the tip of the nozzle is the last thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it the same way as I did the body. I'm just going to take the needle, you can, not the needle, I'm sorry, the nozzle, and you can see the yellow in there. I'm just going to dip the pipe cleaner in some lacquer thinner because this is loose paint, and I'm just going to put it in there and spin it. Now I know it's bad, I'm getting lacquer thinner on my hands, but you can see how much it pulls the paint right out of there. And like I said, you just clip them off and you keep doing it until you get a clean pipe cleaner and you know you have a clean piece. And you can actually put this little piece up to the light and look through and see how shiny it is inside. And I already got this guy clean. I want to take it, I want to cut it off. I want to make sure that I have a dry one, put it in there, dry it up, and it's still white, and I know I'm good to go. You're not going to be able to see it, but I can see, oh, there we go, you can see right through. Not a problem. We know this is clean, and we can get to assembly of the airbrush. So now we have all our parts nice and clean back here, nice and blurry, so we can keep this in focus. And we're going to put this together like we're putting together a model. We're just going to take sub-assemblies and put it back together. Now the first thing I do is I put my air valve back on so I don't lose that guy. Now a lot of people use Teflon tape and they'll use lubricants and they tell you they need to use it or you need to use it. I don't use it. People are going to say I'm wrong. I don't use any beeswax. I don't use any tape. I've never had any leaks. I don't use any kind of lubricant for the needle or anything like that. And I've had, like I said, the Badger Crescendo I've had for 20 years. I've never used lubricant on it and no problems at all with nothing rusting, nothing getting jammed or locked up or anything like that. So just personally, that's my way of doing it. I don't use any lubricants on it, and I've never had a problem with Badger. This is not sponsored by Badger. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. It's just they make really good airbrushes, and I never had a problem where I have to use any type of lubricant. The trigger and the needle flow fine, so we have no problems there. So that's the first thing I do, is I put the air valve back on. The next thing I'm going to put back together is the needle tube. I'm going to grab the needle tube. I'm just going to take the spring. We're going to put the spring in there gently, and then we're going to take the spring nut right here, and we put the spring nut on here. I keep mine all the way tightened down. You can actually adjust this and change the feel of your trigger. I like mine all the way tightened down. The next part of this is we are going to take the tube shank, and this is a D shape right here. So you're going to take this, that'll fit into the D shape, no problem. And then I will take the locking nut for the needle and just loosely put it on there, because if we tighten it down, we're not going to be able to get the needle on there. Now that I have the whole needle assembly done, I'm going to go back to the body, and I'm going to take the tip or the nozzle, and I'm going to seat this in here. Make sure it's seated right, otherwise you'll have leakage and your paint's not going to flow right. And then the next thing up is the head cap, which I always have to be careful putting it on because I always knock something around. And we just twist that guy on there. And like I said, some people use beeswax to make sure they don't get a leak, or Teflon tape. I've never used any of that, and I've never had a problem with the Badger airbrushes. So that's on there. Then next up, you're going to put on your spray regulator. We got our spray regulator and our body is hooked up. The next thing I'm going to put in is I'm going to put my trigger in and make sure I feel that it's seated on top of the air valve needle. I can press it down, I can feel it. Now this is the part that I always have a problem with. It's like a USB. This I always put in the wrong way. Just always remember the hump is going to go to the back, because that's what's going to depress the needle chuck backwards, allowing the needle to come back and your paint to flow. So you get this guy in here like this. If I could get him to seat. Okay. That right there is the worst part of reassembly for me, is putting that guy in there. Oops. I dropped our needle. Okay, once you have everything together, we can start putting our needle chuck in here. I hold the shank back into the D a little bit. Once spinning, it may come out, and how we'll test that is once we have it all the way locked in. If I can't pull my trigger back, it is going to not be seated right, but it's sat in the D right. If not, you just twist this around until it fits in the D, pull it back, and then you'll be able to depress your trigger down and pull your needle back. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to put on my needle lock again because it fell off, and then I'm going to gently slide my needle through so I don't bend anything, making sure the needle comes out of the front. I'm going to lock my needle down, it's in there, and then the last piece I'm going to put back on is my handle. My handle's on there, my trigger is flowing fine, and you can see the needle's pulling back. And that is how I clean my airbrush. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you for stopping by, and if you have any questions or comments, just throw them in the comment section below and I will get back to you as quickly as I can, as I usually do. And there's going to be 3 more parts to this series. It ended up being 5 parts because I split this up into 2. We are going to do cleaning your airbrush in between colors, we're going to do common problems with airbrushes, and we are going to do one with the ultrasonic cleaner to see if that does any better. Don't tell the wife I ordered one. So that's it for today. I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, and bye-bye.